SummerSlam is tomorrow night in the Motor City, so I think it is very appropriate that tonight was all about filler up. A filler episode of SmackDown. That's what we got here with the Go Home Show. Outside of the Street Profits making their first appearance wearing a couple of suits to attack the OC and the Brawling Brutes. That was honestly the most interesting thing on the entire show. There was really nothing else to speak of that was special. Heading into tomorrow night, it was the standard promotion and build-up and video packages that you would expect. We got a replay of the video package for Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes that we already saw back on Monday. They re-aired that again tonight. There was no Roman Reigns on the show, which automatically right there, of course, that tells you it was not worthy enough for Roman Reigns to make an appearance tonight. Jey Uso, though. Jey Uso was there. Jey Uso was left standing tall at the end of the main event. He had a match with Solo Sikoa. And the parting shot when this show was over tonight was Jey Uso standing triumphant, which probably does not bode very well for him tomorrow night, but I could have told you that regardless. So he had his one night of victory, though. The crowd was right there with him. The crowd was behind Jey Uso. I'm sure they'll be behind him again at Ford Field tomorrow night. It's going to be a great atmosphere for Tribal Combat. We had Paul Heyman narrating a video package about Tribal Combat and the Samoan necklace, the Ula Fala that Roman Reigns wears. Who's going to come out of SummerSlam as the Tribal Chief? That was what that whole segment was about. LA Knight got a win as well to build what they said was momentum for SummerSlam, for the Battle Royal that he is going to be a part of tomorrow night. And speaking of SummerSlam, there's been a lot made of the matches that did not make the card, because the card has been solid now for about a week. And we have 8 matches on the SummerSlam card for tomorrow night. But one match that is not on the card is Becky Lynch against Trish Stratus, which from the moment that Trish Stratus came back, the plan had always been for Becky and Trish to be on the SummerSlam card, to build to a match between them at SummerSlam. They had that initial match. This was going to be the rematch. It's the entire reason why Trish came back. And they got bumped. And they're doing the match on Raw instead. They're going to do the match on Raw next week in Winnipeg. And there have been a lot of cryptic tweeting, and clearly Becky and Trish are not happy. Clearly they're not happy, and they have every right to be unhappy the fact that they got bumped from the card. WWE does not want to go above a certain amount of time. They don't want to go above a certain number of matches. They took a look at what they had on the card, and they decided that this match had to be sacrificed. Rhea Ripley is the Women's World Champion on Monday Night Raw, and Rhea Ripley does not have a match at SummerSlam tomorrow night either. They've been teasing something with her and Raquel Rodriguez, who's been doing an injury angle on TV with her knee. It looked like they were going to add the match on Raw Monday. They were going to make the announcement, but they never did. Now, it's possible it could get added at the last minute, but at this point, I think the card is pretty solid for tomorrow. I don't see it happening. The reality is Rhea Ripley is going to be on the show regardless, because Rhea Ripley has been on every show. She's been all over the place. She's been on Raw. She's been on SmackDown. She's been on NXT. She's been wrestling on NXT. So she's going to be there with the Judgment Day tomorrow night. Finn Balor is challenging for the World Heavyweight Championship. I fully expect Rhea Ripley will have a presence on that show. I will say, though, it is ridiculous that Rhea Ripley is one of the biggest stars in the entire company. And at this moment, she is the biggest star that they have in the women's division on either one of those shows. And she doesn't have a match on one of the top 2 or 3 biggest shows of the year. That is ridiculous. Now, the issue with her and Raquel is really only just getting started. So it's not the end of the world that they're not doing the first match on the SummerSlam card, but there should have been more forethought put into finding something for this woman to do. Oh, I don't know, defend her championship on this show. Since you have a WWE Women's Championship match, it would only make sense to have a Women's World Heavyweight Championship match. And that is not the case. So I agree that is ridiculous that Rhea would not have a match on the show, even though she will be on the show. But Becky and Trish do not. And again, 8 matches deep. I agree with Triple H not wanting to overload these shows with too many matches. That's one of the things I actually dislike about what AEW does with their pay-per-views. But at least with AEW, you can understand they only have about 5 shows a year. That may be changing soon. But they run far fewer pay-per-views than WWE does. But sometimes they go overboard. Tony goes overboard sometimes with the number of matches. Less is more. They're already 8 matches deep. And you know what happened here is that they reacted to the fan reaction to LA Knight. They wanted to find a way to get him on the show. They have this new sponsorship with Slim Jim now, which apparently is worth a fuck ton of money. One of their biggest sponsorships ever. And they said, well, we can get him on the show and we can satisfy the sponsor by having a battle royal, and then we'll put a whole bunch of people in there. That was the compromise. Just so happens that Becky and Trish got pushed back. Now, to me, I don't look at it. For me, it's not a big deal. I can understand it being a big deal for them. For me, it's not a big deal because, honestly, their feud and a lot of what we've been seeing on television has not been overly exciting to me. So them wanting to push it back and do it on TV is okay with me. 8 matches deep, they really don't need any more than that. But there was a lot of controversy around that this week. I'll tell you what honestly is kind of weird to me. And I am going to run down the SummerSlam card later with some final predictions. We'll do that at the end. But one of the things that is odd to me is we have Cody Rhodes against Brock Lesnar. This is the rubber match of their feud tomorrow night. We have Finn Balor challenging Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship, right? This is the second time now that these two are in the ring together. We saw it at Money in the Bank. 2 rematches, neither of which has a stipulation attached to it. That's very odd. Now, apparently, Cody and Brock felt they didn't need a stipulation, and they decided we're just going to have a straight wrestling match. Balor and Rollins, you know, I guess you could argue that they have the specter of Damian Priest and the Money in the Bank briefcase kind of looming large over that match. Is he going to cash in? Is he not going to cash in? And you could argue they didn't need a stipulation either because of the Damian Priest factor. But I just think it's strange that you have these 2 big marquee matches on the show, both of which are rematches, and neither of which has a stipulation attached to it. It's very, very strange, very odd that they would do that, but evidently they didn't think they needed it. And honestly, for the Balor and the Rollins one, because of the Damian Priest stuff, I don't think they do. Cody and Brock, I think, could have used a stipulation, given that it is the blow-off to the feud, and we've already seen them one-on-one in a straight match before. But they decided that they didn't need a stipulation. This is your WWE Smackdown review for Friday, August 4th, 2023. I am the Solomonster. Good to see you guys here on a Friday night, as always. Like and subscribe. Super chats are open. Get them on in. I will be reading your questions. Also, if you got SummerSlam predictions, drop a super chat. Let me know what you think is going down tomorrow night. Channel memberships are open as well. And I want to give a quick little plug here to the latest Sound of Gamer, which is now public for everyone. It was early access for channel members at the beginning of the week, but everybody can go check this out. The second installment of AEW Fight Forever. Look who is trying to leech off of my success. Chris Jericho, trying to leech off the success of a young up-and-comer in AEW. Who would have thunk it? So that's Sound of Gamer. It is up right now for your viewing pleasure. Now, you know they're starting to finally get it and realize what they have in LA Knight when they have him opening the show. Opening the show with a promo and a match. LA Knight was out first, and he got another star reaction as he has been getting each and every week, regardless of what city they're in. He talked about the other stooges in the Slim Jim Battle Royal tomorrow night. Like I said, apparently WWE is getting a disgusting amount of money from Slim Jim for this new big sponsorship they have. Hence why they're getting their own Battle Royal. They put a graphic up on screen showing the participants in the Battle Royal, and they showed LA Knight, Sheamus, Santos Escobar, The Miz, Grayson Waller. I thought I was seeing double there for a second. AJ Styles, Karrion Kross, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Matt Riddle. Now on Raw Monday night, they mentioned that Tommaso Ciampa would be in there as well as Chad Gable and Otis of the Alpha Academy. They were not shown in the graphic here. nor in the graphic when they showed it again at the end of the show when they were running down the card. So I'm assuming that the graphic was not showing everybody in the match. I mean, it's always possible they can make a late change. I think they only showed about 9 guys in the graphic. I would think they're going to have more than 9 people in the Battle Royal. So, again, Ciampa, Alpha Academy, and really whoever else they can think of, they could just toss them in there. That's the Battle Royal tomorrow night. He made fun of The Miz, calling himself the most must-see thing on TV. He called Sheamus a pasty goof. And then he did his catchphrase, and everybody sang along with LA Knight. Sheamus and the Brawling Brutes came out. We got LA Knight against Sheamus in a match. They said for SummerSlam momentum. Always good to get some momentum. Or is it? This is WWE. I would think momentum, honestly, is the last thing you want going into this Battle Royal. Usually the one who's standing tall going into the pay-per-view doesn't usually come out of it doing all that. Well, I would love to see the percentage on that, by the way. That used to be the way that it was. Right? It was never like a surefire 10 out of 10 thing, but if you got a big win going into the pay-per-view, or if you were standing tall going into the pay-per-view, you usually didn't end up standing, unless your name was Steve Austin. Right, you always have a Steve Austin or a Rock. Those rules didn't apply to big names, like megastars like those two. But I would be curious what the percentage is these days when it comes to that sort of thing. So, Escobar, Miz, Waller, Cross, AJ. AJ came out with Michin. They all walked to ringside during the match, very, very casually, just walked out to the ring. Sheamus landed a white noise on the apron to take us into the first commercial. Later on, Knight hit the leaping elbow drop that he does after he hits the ropes. Didn't make a cover, though. He picked Sheamus up at a torture rack position, went for an inverted attitude adjustment for a near fall. Sheamus picked up Knight. He climbed the ropes for an avalanche white noise, which he hit, and then he applied the cloverleaf. Knight got the ropes. Sheamus climbed to the top rope, and LA Knight, he attempted a standing vertical leap. Now, we have seen LA Knight try this before, and I would say he's about 50-50, because half the time he makes it, half the time he doesn't. Tonight was one of those nights where he didn't make it. He tried to, he stumbled, he ended up falling down, he landed on his feet, so that was kind of embarrassing. Then he climbed back up to the top rope as normal, and lost his balance again, which caused Sheamus to lose his balance, or maybe it was vice versa, but they both went tumbling down to the floor. So this turned into a mess. Look, LA Knight is not Shelton Benjamin. There are very few people who can do that in one leap, and land perfectly on the top rope and balance themselves, right? There's a select few who could probably pull that off cleanly every single time they try it. I always think of Shelton Benjamin because he used to do it all the time. And Shelton now is in his late 40s, and I bet he could still do it. He is not Shelton Benjamin. So LA Knight needs to leave that in the dustbin because, again, half the time he hits it, half the time he doesn't. And when he doesn't hit it, it just doesn't look good. And it can screw the entire thing up. You can cause the other guy to lose his balance. It's a whole mess. And this is not the first time that that's happened. It didn't work here. So, again, he might want to rethink using that in the future. But the problem here is they both fell out to the floor. And I noticed that LA Knight started grabbing at his knee. And I instantly thought of Mercedes falling off the top in her match with Willow Nightingale. And we all know what happened then. She broke her ankle. Thankfully, he was okay. He didn't break anything, but for a moment there, as soon as he started grabbing his knee, I'm thinking, okay, we're 24 hours away from this pay-per-view, and this is obviously tomorrow night going to be a big spot for him. And now here he is falling off the top rope and grabbing his knee. That's not good. But he seemed to be okay. So while they were laying on the floor outside, which, again, I don't believe was the idea. I think what was supposed to happen here is that he would have did the big leap, and he would have hit a superplex, and then both of them would have been down. And it would have been chaos out on the floor, which is what we ended up getting anyway. But instead of the superplex and them being down, they were down outside on the floor. At that point, that was the cue for Austin Theory to come running out. He attacked Santos Escobar from behind, and then he ran to the back. He's going to be defending his United States Championship against Escobar on the show next Friday. So that's why he did that. And at that point, all the other Battle Royal participants started a huge brawl outside the ring. AJ, Cross, they all just, Miz, they all just started going at it. Sheamus grabbed Miz on the apron. He delivered the 10 beats. Knight tried to roll him up from behind. Sheamus kicked out at 2. And he managed to land a brogue kick on Miz. He was aiming for LA Knight, but LA Knight ducked out of the way. He hit Miz instead. And when Sheamus turned around, he turned around into the blunt force trauma, and LA Knight pinned him to win the match. After the match, Grayson Waller and Karrion Kross, they attempted to get at LA Knight in the ring, but he escaped, and he went off into the crowd. LA Knight has had a few botches in some of his recent matches. I mean, we can take it back to that match he had with Rey Mysterio all those weeks ago. That just completely fell apart in the last couple of minutes of that match. And I think I said it at the time, as someone who wants to see him succeed because the fans are into him and it's fun to see, it's fun to watch, and I think he deserves a shot. I really do think he could get over as one of the big stars on the brand if given the chance. But I made a comment at that time that when you're under a microscope, the way that he is right now, I'm sure with management and with everybody, because he's getting a push, hopefully. When you're under a microscope like that, you got to be on the ball, right? You got to make sure you don't make any mistakes. You don't give anybody a reason to second guess you or to say, I don't know about this. Maybe we're making the wrong call here. If that were to continue, if we saw more, look, nobody's perfect, right? Wrestlers, they're not machines, right? They're going to make mistakes. But if that were to continue, if we were to, see more stuff like that in some of his future matches, again, he's got the eyes of the world on him, but most importantly, he's got a pair of 77-year-old eyes watching him from home. So he has to be very careful. He has to be at his best. He has to be at his best at all times in the position that he's in right now, because I feel like there's always going to be people just looking for a reason. So that's why I say when it comes to a move like that, I know he's trying to show off, but it might be better to just leave that behind and find something else that you can reliably hit whenever you're going to go for it. Because I always wince whenever I see him trying that. It's a hard thing to do, to jump up to that top rope in one fell swoop and balance yourself. But again, I don't know that that's a smart thing for him to be doing. But among the things that Michael Cole talked about on commentary, I picked up on two things that Cole talked about during the match. One was people referring to LA Knight as a throwback to the Attitude Era. He specifically mentioned that. And he mentioned Knight recently saying that he's a mix. He kind of embraces it, that he's a mix of old and new. And then later on, Cole told us that Knight said, when asked to describe his offense, that it's not fancy, it's not pretty, but it gets the job done. So I noticed those two things. Those two things stood out to me very much. What they're doing here is they're taking pains to address the criticisms of LA Knight, or at least a couple of the bigger criticisms of him. One of the criticisms of LA Knight is that he's a ripoff of The Rock, right? Oh, he's ripping off Stone Cold, and he's ripping off The Rock, and he's trying to copy them. And so what they're saying here is, no. All he's doing is he's taking elements of what we saw from these people in the Attitude Era, and he's mixing it, he's blending it in with his own personality, right? So they're addressing that. And then as far as, I'm not flashy, I'm not this, I'm not that. The other criticism is that his matches are kind of blah, right? There's nothing overly flashy about his offense when he's in the ring. He's not known for any kind of big special moves. He's not flying around all over the place. And again, his resume of matches, certainly in WWE, he doesn't have this long list of great matches that you could point to like you can with so many other people on the roster. And so here they're saying, you know what? Look, he's not the flashiest. He's not somebody that is going to be a Seth Rollins or an AJ Styles, right? Or a Santos Escobar or somebody like that, but it gets the job done. So I like that, though. I like the fact that they're taking what would be perceived as criticisms and they're kind of turning it into a positive here, or at least they're trying to. And believe me, Michael Cole would not be bringing that up on commentary unless they wanted to specifically address that on commentary. Knight winning tonight here against Sheamus, probably doesn't bode well for his chances tomorrow night, but we'll see. You know, this company, I've said it before, this company is all about heat. Gotta get heat. It's always hot in here. This company is always about heat. And what did I say on Sunday when I ran down my predictions on the podcast? I said, I don't know. I only knew 2 names in the Battle Royal. On Sunday, we only knew LA Knight and Sheamus. We didn't know anybody else that was in the match. Well, in the graphic tonight and at ringside for this match, Grayson Waller. And I said on Sunday, if Grayson Waller is in that Battle Royal, I have him as my winner. I have him as my pick. Not because I want to see him win. LA Knight should win the Battle Royal. But Grayson Waller, I can just picture it now. LA Knight has the match won. Grayson Waller sneaks up behind him, dumps him out of the ring, he wins. Because everybody's expecting LA Knight to win. Grayson Waller wins. Why? Because heat. Imagine the heat. If he steals the win away from LA Knight, and then coming out of SummerSlam, LA Knight has his first feud set up with Grayson Waller. Not saying that that's what I want to see, but that's exactly the sort of thing I could see WWE doing. So, and I'm sticking with that as my prediction, by the way. Call it the cynic in me, but this is a battle royal that's tailor-made for LA Knight, but that doesn't mean the WWE is going to do the right thing. Backstage, the Brawling Brutes and the OC, they were arguing. They had to be separated by Adam Pearce, who told them all, why don't you go out to the ring and settle it, which is what they ended up doing. Then we got a replay of the SummerSlam video package they aired on Monday for Cody Rhodes against Brock Lesnar. For those wondering, the song that was used in the video package, it's called Daylight by David Kushner. It's a very good song. We had Butch, Ridge Holland teaming up against Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. 4 men who are not even on the SummerSlam card. Unless they put them in the Battle Royal. It's entirely possible that some or all of them will end up in the Battle Royal tomorrow night. None of them were in the graphic. None of them were announced. So you look at this and you go, wait a minute. 4 guys who are not even on the pay-per-view tomorrow. Why are they wasting time on this show here, on this go-home show with 4 people who aren't even on the pay-per-view? Well, it wasn't about the match. It wasn't about these 4. It was a means to get to the angle that came after the match. It was all about the post-match angle with the Street Profits. So Butch got a hot tag from Holland. He ran wild with kicks in the corner. Gallows returned. He hit an elbow on Butch. Holland powered up Gallows with a back body drop, and all of a sudden, who shows up? Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins. From out of nowhere, dressed to the nines in suits. They run into the ring. They attack both teams. Match ended in a no contest. Dawkins hit a sky high. Ford hit a spinning butterfly suplex, and there was a pounce by Angelo Dawkins. He pounced. I forgot who it was. It might have been Butch. Let's say it was Butch. He pounced Butch into a back suplex by Montez Ford. They left the ring. They made their way onto the stage, and Bobby Lashley came out to a big ovation, and everybody was chanting his name. Everybody was chanting for Bobby. Big smile on his face. He came up behind Ford and Dawkins, and they all stood there and they posed. This was great. The match was nothing special, but the post-match angle was great. As soon as I saw the Street Profits in their new threads, I said, all right, I like where this is going. I see Bobby Lashley is rubbing off on these 2. They needed a fresh coat of paint on the Street Profits. They haven't been doing anything. They haven't been involved in any kind of a program. And frankly, it was just getting very tiresome. So that's why I was thinking, okay, heel turn. A heel turn is something that these guys could use. A heel turn and a new wardrobe, they kind of go together here. Fresh coat of paint. It's exactly what these 2 guys needed. The fans cheered them like they were baby faces. Now, we don't know. I'm kind of hesitating to call this a heel turn because we don't know if it was a heel turn or not. They certainly looked like they had more of an attitude. They had more of an edge. Doesn't mean that they're heels. And the crowd certainly didn't react to them like they were heels. Crowd loved it. Crowd loved Lashley. So we don't know yet if they're going to be heels, if they're going to be baby faces. I'm interested to see if they add anybody new. Frankly, I don't think they need anybody new. If they want to keep these guys as a trio, I think that would be fine. Although it does feel to me like MVP is just being completely wasted right now. I mean, he just vanished from television. And I'm not saying that we need Omos in the group. I'm just saying, if they wanted to work him in there somehow, I could see that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see whether or not they treat them as baby faces or heels. It's still too early to tell. But I like where this is going. And it's good to see Bobby Lashley finally back on TV being involved in something. It's not the Hurt Business. It's something different. It gets him back in a faction. And again, more importantly, it gives the Street Profits kind of this new lease on life because they've just been sort of drifting around with nothing to do. And so I think this will be a very good thing for them. This will be a positive for them. We got a Charlotte Flair video package. And Charlotte was sitting on a yacht. She was talking about winning and her high roller lifestyle being part of her blood. It's in her blood. She called herself the past, the present, and the future, and she has been since 2015. She said there's a reason that she's 5-0 at SummerSlam. She said Bianca Belair might have been on top for 2 years, but she's been on top for her entire career. Well, isn't that the damn truth? And then she toasted herself as the soon-to-be 15-time women's champion. She'll get there. I think she's going to get there tomorrow night. Brings her one step closer to 16. That's the whole goal here. The goal is to get her to beat her father's record as quickly as possible. She is well on her way to that. This was the first of 3, by the way, video packages for this match that we got tonight. Paul Heyman was in the ring. Paul Heyman, we were told, was going to give us a lesson in the history of tribal combat. Heyman asked, how did it come to this? Came to this because it was the last thing Roman Reigns wanted. So how did we get to this point? He said if you wanted to place blame on what happened to Jimmy Uso, who he claimed we will never see again. Yeah, okay, yeah, we'll never see Jimmy again. I think we're gonna see Jimmy in probably about 24 hours. We're gonna see Jimmy probably fending off Solo Sikoa tomorrow night. He said we could all place the blame on Jey Uso. And Heyman said they would be entering a tradition called tribal combat. And he pitched it to a video package that he narrated, focusing on the significance of the Ula Fala necklace that we see Roman Reigns wearing on television every week, or most weeks. Talked about centuries of combat had settled the conflicts of the Samoan tribes. We got comments from Rikishi, Afa, and Sika. Heyman narrated that the only rule in tribal combat is that there must be a declarative winner. That's it. Anything goes, there must be a winner. Back live in the ring, Heyman said that Roman is the undisputed Universal Champion and everyone's tribal chief for almost 3 years, something Jey Uso will never be. And Heyman was about to deliver a spoiler to all of us when he was interrupted by Jey Uso's theme music. Out came Jey. He joined Heyman in the ring, and he promised to put Roman Reigns through a table, among other things. He was pointing out all the different things he's going to do to him tomorrow. He said he's bringing the spirit of his ancestors tomorrow, the culture. He's bringing all that tomorrow, and tomorrow he is going to beat Roman Reigns. He is going to become the new tribal chief, and he is going to become the new WWE Undisputed Universal Champion. Hey, you know what? Maybe we'll get the old tribal war paint. Remember when the Usos first debuted, they had the face paint on. Maybe we'll get face paint from Jey Uso tomorrow night. Solo Sikoa's music hit. He walked to the ring with a purpose. He got inside. Paul Heyman had to hold him back. Jey told him, he goes, look, you're my brother. I can always forgive you. You're just taking orders. Roman is telling you the same things that he told me. He's using you. And Heyman went to go speak. Solo shot him a look. He just shot him a death glare. He told Heyman to get out of the ring, and Heyman was like, what do you mean? And then he yelled at him to get out. And at that point, Jey super kicked Solo, knocked him out of the ring to the floor. And Jey told Heyman to let his brother know that he's going to see him in the main event later tonight. You can tell when you watch these segments, and he's out there by himself, right? He's not with Jimmy. And again, we didn't have Roman on the show tonight. You could tell when you watch these shows that he is so much more comfortable, Jey Uso is, on the microphone. He's just so much more relaxed in the ring as a promo. It's night and day compared to 3 years ago when this angle first started. He's come a long way as a personality on this show. He's really come out of his shell. It's been great to see. And what they've done here is they've created a main event player. I don't think a permanent main event player, but they've created a main event player out of it. But one thing that strikes me when I watch segments like this is, as good as he is, the magic just isn't there. When he's in the ring with Heyman, when he's in the ring with just Heyman in solo, if Roman Reigns is not there, the magic just isn't there. It's just a different vibe in these segments without Roman there. He really is the glue that holds this whole thing together, is Roman Reigns. You take him out of the equation, it just doesn't work. You know? So, for example, if Jey Uso becomes the new tribal chief, which he won't, but if he becomes the new tribal chief at SummerSlam tomorrow, and Roman goes away, it's not going to be the same. And it's not an indictment of Jey Uso. It's just that this just doesn't work without Roman Reigns. He just has this commanding personality on this show, and just this charisma about him, which is incredible to be talking about, because for so long it was almost like he was the anti-charisma, and it took him taking time off and turning heel to really bring it out of him. But it just wouldn't be the same. Kayla Braxton was in the back to interview Austin Theory, the United States champion, who said that he was going to dedicate his win next week over Santos Escobar to Rey Mysterio, who Michael Cole earlier told us suffered severe whiplash in his match that had to be stopped with Escobar last week. He said Rey is considered day-to-day and he is recovering at home. In reality, Rey is perfectly fine. There is nothing wrong with Rey Mysterio. He got his bell rung, and even last week after the match was over, he was fine. So that's just a part of the angle, part of the storyline. We had Austin Theory one-on-one with Cameron Grimes. Right from the start, the match just started. Santos Escobar is coming out. Adam Pearce is trying to hold him back. They have a gaggle of referees trying to hold this guy back. Theory turned around right into a cave-in, and he almost got beat. But when Cameron Grimes pulled his legs back to pin him, he pulled his legs back so much his foot was in the ropes. So the referee stopped the count, called for the rope break. Grimes hit a dive to the floor. Back in the ring, he hit a high cross body and a spinning boss man slam for 2. He went for the cave-in again, but Theory dodged it. Hung Grimes up on the top rope. He turned around and he hit the 8-town down for the win. After the match, Escobar did get to Theory, laid him out with the Phantom Driver. Cameron Grimes took 90% plus of this match. I'm pretty sure Austin Theory only hit 2 moves, including his finish, for the entire match. This was all Cameron Grimes, right up until the finish. And look, Theory got the win. I would hardly, though, call this a momentum-building win for him on this show. This was just the opposite. This guy has whatever negative momentum is, that's what Austin Theory has. Austin Theory has had negative momentum since WrestleMania. That's what a win over John Cena got him. And the plan should be to put LA Knight in the ring at some point soon with Austin Theory and have Austin Theory drop the United States Championship to LA Knight. They should probably add some kind of a stipulation to the Battle Royal so they can have something on the line. Maybe it's a U.S. title match, but they just did that tournament. But the plan should be to get the U.S. title on LA Knight. That's what they should be doing. I don't know if they are doing that. If not, then just put the title on Escobar next week. Whatever it takes to get the belt off of Austin Theory, because this is not working. Keeping the United States Championship on Austin Theory is a waste. It is doing nothing for the title. It is doing nothing for Austin Theory. So whether it's Escobar or whether it's LA Knight, the sooner they get the belt off of him, the better off everybody will be. After the Charlotte vignette that we had earlier in the show, now it was Asuka's turn. Asuka was training in the gym. She talked about having beaten both Charlotte and Bianca before and having a plan for SummerSlam. How nice of them to remember that there is a third person in this match tomorrow night, who just so happens to be the women's champion. She's taken a back seat this entire time. It was nice to see her get some shine here on this show. At least they remembered. Now, after a break, it was time for the Grayson Waller effect. Oh, joy. And his guests tonight were Bayley and Ms. Money in the Bank Io Sky. Waller asked if Sky was going to cash in her Money in the Bank tomorrow night. And before she could answer, Bayley butted in and said all the idiots will have to wait for Io's decision. So now we hear laughing from Shotzi all throughout the arena, which scared Bayley, but it was actually Grayson Waller who was behind it. He started cackling at Bayley's reaction. Bayley didn't fall for it, though, the second time when Shotzi's music hit. She wasn't falling for it. But this time, the Tank came out on stage. And it was so far away, and they didn't get a close-up shot, you couldn't really see who was driving the Tank. You just saw the Tank come out. Bayley told Io, go get her. So Io left the ring, and Io's in the aisleway, and with her back turned, you could see where this was going. That left Bayley alone in the ring all by herself. Who should come up behind Bayley? Shotzi. So Shotzi was not in the Tank. She came up behind Bayley. She had her newly shaved head. Bayley turned around. She got popped in the face, and then Shotzi pulled out a hair trimmer, like the one that she shaved her own head with. And they piped in these hilariously bad sound effects. So you can hear the buzz. You can hear the buzzing sound. Boy, was that loud. You could hear the buzzing sound throughout the entire arena. As she went to go try to shave Bayley's head, but Bayley escaped. She chased her into the crowd. You know what this was? They used to do this years ago. Reminded me of when the Mountie had his shock stick. And he would take the shock stick and he would shock somebody, and they would, because these were taped, like the syndicated shows, they were taped, and they would pipe in. I don't know if they did this just for the television show or if they did this in the arena like they did here. These ridiculously over the top, like this buzzing sound effect. That's exactly what this was. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same sound effect that they used fucking 35 years ago. Wouldn't surprise me. It's terrible. Meanwhile, on stage, Zelina Vega revealed herself as the driver of the Tank. And it just so happened that she had a match coming up next against Io Sky. This segment was pretty bad. It's a pretty bad segment. So we had Zelina one-on-one with Io. The match was joined in progress. Both ladies ducked a series of clothesline attempts until they collided with a double clothesline. Every time I say that now, I just want to scream it. I just want to scream double clothesline every time. Thanks to Cole and MJF. Vega tried a code red. Io, though, reversed into a double underhook backbreaker and double knees in the corner. Sky was going for her moonsault. Bayley and Shotzi spilled out from backstage, though, in the middle of this match, complete with the sound effect, and she was still chasing after Bayley with the trimmer, trying to shave her head. So Vega then caught a distracted Io with a code red, and she pinned her. So keeping the tradition alive, I see, of beating our Money in the Bank winners. Bringing back an old tradition. Hopefully that pays off, though, tomorrow night for Io. Usually they would beat the Money in the Bank winners so many times, but then they would win when they would cash in. Hopefully it pays off tomorrow for Io. After the match, they aired a video package, this time focusing on Bianca Belair. And she said that she was untouchable for almost 2 years until Asuka tried to blind her and stole her title. Bianca said that there were no disqualifications and no excuses, and she would give both women a KOD and take back what is rightfully hers. I thought all 3 video packages were actually a very effective way to build up this match. You know, way better than just having a contract signing or just having another pull-apart brawl. I thought it was effective. You know, they focused on each woman. They didn't really say anything of any great substance. It was kind of boilerplate type stuff, but I thought it was effective, what they did here. And then the main event of the show was Jey Uso one-on-one with Solo Sikoa. And we went to the final commercial break. Coming out of that final break, we got back-to-back Samoan drops by Solo. He went for the corner butt splash. Jey moved out of the way. I noticed Jey using the Rock spit punch, the People's Punch. See, I noticed that. Solo, though, wiped him. Well, I mean, look, I guess if you want to be a tribal chief, right, you got to start borrowing from the biggest stars in the tribe, right? So he's just borrowing. He's borrowing, I guess it would be his cousin, right? This family tree is so fucking big, I don't know who's related to who and how. I guess they would be cousins, right? Anyway, he used the People's Punch. Solo wiped him out with a lariat and a spinning heel kick as well by Sikoa, followed by the spinning Solo. That put Jey down, but there was no cover. Instead, he picked up Jey. He was going to go for the Samoan spike. Jey was able to dodge it, and he speared Solo to the mat. went up top, and he finished him off with the Uso splash for the win. But Solo was not happy about that loss. He was a bit of a sour sport. So he attacked Jey after the match. They ended up out on the floor where Solo grabbed the chair, but Jey super kicked the chair back into his face. He took the chair, he hit him over the back with it, knocked him over the barricade by the timekeeper's area. And when Solo stood back up, Jey hit him in the face with the chair, which, sounds more dangerous than it really was. And then Jey Uso climbed up on top of the announce desk, and he stood tall to close out the show. They played his music. Michael Cole was screaming on commentary, can Jey Uso do it? Can Jey Uso become the new tribal chief? I will answer that for you right now, Michael. No. No, he will not. But I thought this was a fine little match. We got the cool visual at the end there. As Jey was standing on the announce desk, you could see the crowd, and they were bouncing their arms up and down along to Jey. Because Jey was he was like doing this, and the crowd was bouncing their arms up and down along with him. The fans have embraced him. Look, the fans have embraced Jey Uso for a long time. It's never been more apparent than right now. He's over. No one is denying that. But he is not beating Roman Reigns, whose presence was sorely missed on this show tonight. Because this was a filler episode. Outside of the Street Profits angle, there's really nothing on the show tonight that you need to go out of your way to see. And even the Street Profits angle, it wasn't like they did much. I'm just saying the Street Profits angle that we got was honestly the most interesting and for me, exciting part of the show. Just to see them trying something different with those two. They hyped up the matches for SummerSlam. They re-aired the Cody and Brock video package, like I said. The vignettes for the women's match were well done, but not much else to speak of. You want to know what filler television looks like? You watch this episode of SmackDown tonight. You'll see filler television. 61% of you apparently like filler television because that's what the Twitter poll is showing me right now. 61% thumbs up, 38% thumbs down. Okay, then. There you go. I mean, look, this probably, if I still had thumbs in the middle, which I got rid of for now, and don't ask me, I'm not bringing it back, but this probably would have been a thumbs in the middle effort. So 61 up, 38 down. Let me run through the SummerSlam card for tomorrow night because we have the show coming up from Ford Field. As I said before, they're going to be in Detroit. They're going to have 50,000 people. I don't know what number they'll announce, but they were pretty close, legit, to having 50,000 people in the building. Last number I saw was 48. They'll have 50. They'll have at least 50 in the building tomorrow night. The site of WrestleMania 23. Ford Field. We have the Slim Jim Battle Royal. I've already made my thoughts known on that. I told you who should win and who I think is going to win. Probably going to be Grayson Waller. We have Logan Paul one-on-one with Ricochet. We know that is the match that is going to be opening SummerSlam, so Logan Paul can immediately fly out to try to get to his brother Jake Paul's fight against Nate Diaz, which is also taking place tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's going to be a busy night. You got SummerSlam. You've got that Jake Paul fight. You've got AEW Collision. CM Punk and Ricky Starks is tomorrow night. I said the other night, big DVR numbers coming. Record DVR viewership coming for Collision tomorrow night. So to allow him time to try to get to his brother's fight, they're going to put this match on first. This should be a win for Logan Paul. If Logan Paul, who has been losing for the past year, he's not won a match since last year's SummerSlam. If he can't beat Ricochet, then who the hell can he beat? Logan Paul wins. Ronda Rousey one-on-one with Shayna Baszler. It's going to be contested under MMA rules, which we now know. Pass out, tap out, or knockout. Those are the rules. I don't know if this is going to be Ronda Rousey's final match or not. There's been a lot of chatter about that. But whether it is or it isn't, I see her putting over her friend. I think Shayna gets the win. Shayna Baszler is going to win the match. Or the fight. Gunther defends the Intercontinental Championship against... Oh, there's also a UFC. Good point. Thank you. Forgot about that too. Yeah, it's crazy. Gunther defends the Intercontinental title against Drew McIntyre. They've made it this far. I was fully in favor, and I still believe the right move would have been to put the Intercontinental title on Sheamus at WrestleMania and give him his moment. But now we're so close. to him breaking the all-time record that it would be criminal for them to take the championship away from Gunther now. So I have him beating Drew McIntyre. Asuka defends the WWE Women's Championship in a triple threat against Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair. I've got Charlotte Flair winning title number 15, and then Io Sky cashes in successfully on Charlotte. Now, I don't believe there has been a failed women's cash-in yet. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe every single women's cash-in so far, I think every cash-in so far probably took place the same night, but I believe they've all been successful. So some people think that this is going to be the first one that is unsuccessful. I think she cashes in and I think she wins. I think Charlotte wins and then it goes from Charlotte to Io. That's my prediction. Brock Lesnar against Cody Rhodes in the rubber match. This has to be it. Cody has been feuding with Brock for 4 months now. There's nothing left for these two to do. They could have done a stipulation match here. They chose not to. This is the third match, so it's going to be the deciding match. One person is going to end up with 2 wins over the other. We'll see who it is. That person has to be Cody. How could it not be Cody? Can you imagine Cody losing to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? And then in this feud, after 4 fucking months of feuding with Brock Lesnar, he loses at SummerSlam. Maybe he'll have the rubber chicken in his corner this time. Cody Rhodes. This should be an easy slam dunk win for Cody Rhodes. Seth Rollins defends the World Heavyweight Championship against Finn Balor. Again, the specter of Damian Priest and the Money in the Bank briefcase looms large over this match. I think Damian Priest is going to cash in. And I think he's going to fail. And I think it's going to create more tension and drama between him and Finn Balor when they both fail. And Rollins retains the World Heavyweight title. And Roman, and by the way, I would not at all mind if Finn Balor won the World Heavyweight Championship. If I want to pick him to win the title. But I just feel like Rollins is going to pull it out. And in the main event, it is Tribal Combat. It is Roman Reigns going one-on-one with Jey Uso. I think this is going to be an excellent, dramatic main event. I don't know where the story is going to go. I do expect that Solo will get involved and Jimmy Uso will make his return. He'll fight off his brother. And it'll come down to Roman and Jey. No Solo there to save him, but in the end, Roman Reigns, as he always does, will find a way. He will win. He will walk out as the champion. This is not the end of the forever run. But I'm expecting this to be an excellent match. I mean, all the Bloodline stuff, on these pay-per-views, everything they've been doing has been top-notch. This is the biggest match of Jey Uso's life. He's not going to go out there and embarrass himself. Roman Reigns is going to want to give his cousin the best match of his life. I think they're going to be extra motivated in front of a big WrestleMania-esque crowd to go out there and fucking tear the house down. So I'm looking forward to it. And also, I think it's one of the reasons why Triple H wanted to not overload the show. It's 8 matches deep. They did not want to overload the show because they don't want the show to go beyond a certain, time commitment. And they want to make sure they have enough time for whatever this big Bloodline angle at the end of the show is going to be. From start to finish with entrances and everything, this is probably going to be a 45-minute thing. So they want to make sure they leave enough time for the key angle on the show. But that is the SummerSlam card. I'm not expecting anything else to get added, but it's always possible. They have a kickoff show. It'd be kind of funny if they put Rhea Ripley defending her championship on the kickoff show, but again, it doesn't look like Rhea. Rhea will be there, but I'm not expecting Rhea to have a match at this point. It is ridiculous, though, that Rhea Ripley did not already have a match set weeks ago for, some would say the second biggest show of the year, some would say the third behind the Royal Rumble, but, SummerSlam is traditionally one of the bigger shows of the year. To not have Rhea Ripley wrestling on the show when she is the champion right now and the top female star in the company is very bizarre to me. All right, let's check out your super chats here. I did see that, by the way. There is a picture going around of Rhea Ripley, and she is stepping on something. I guess there was a fan that wanted her to step on him. I'm sure there are a lot of fans out there who would like for Rhea Ripley to step on him. There are a lot of freaks out there They come out at night, they come out in the daytime, they have no shame. So this woman flew all the way to Detroit so that she can step on some marks. I think it was in a parking lot or something. This is what she flew out there for. It should have been me, says Eric. Naughty delicious chicken with flavor. Fill in the blank. Brock Lesnar against Cody Rhodes will be a blank finish. Clean finish. Win for Cody. The Comedic Genius says, yeah. And SummerSlam is in my hometown. I will be there. Will Comedic Genius have fun? Naughty Delicious says, LA Knight after SummerSlam, he will have to continue to get up, stand up, and not give up the fight for his push. It's gonna be an uphill climb, but it looks like they're gonna give him the chance. But I just feel like the first real slip up or fuck up, he's on a short leash. The fans willed this push into existence. This would not be happening were it not for the reactions that he's been getting and the t-shirts he's been selling. So this was not part of the company's plan. They've had to deviate from their plans. And he's on a very short leash. He needs to be at his very best in everything that he does. In the ring, on the mic. Slightest little fuck up could be the end for him. Lady Fire Panda, thank you for the 21. Sending this before the stream. So if you've already talked about it, please accept my donation and move on. What are your thoughts on the Lufisto comments about the AEW locker room and the women's response to it? Far too much to get into here. I'll give you a very quick answer, but I mean, there's just way too much to unpack here. I'm going to save that for the Sunday show. Obviously, the whole situation is a mess. It's embarrassing for AEW. It's embarrassing, honestly, for everybody involved. And there's been so much back and forth from the parties that she named, and then other people who have kind of jumped in to refute what she's saying. And of course, today, it didn't look suspect at all, having half the AEW roster respond back at almost the exact same time. Yeah, that didn't look planned or coordinated or anything. I think the truth lies in the middle. I think there's truth on both sides. I think that there are people in the AEW women's locker room who are very happy to be there, who believe everything that they said, that it's this harmonious place and all the women support each other and they love each other and it's this warm, welcoming environment. And then I think there are other women in the company and people in the company who would disagree with that. In fact, Fightful heard from people in the company who both said that Lufisto is right and that Lufisto is wrong. So clearly there are problems. Whether they want to admit it or not, there are issues in that locker room. There are issues. We already know there are issues with the booking of the women's division. We could see that just by watching the shows. Everything is not as hunky-dory as they make it out to be. But I also think that Lufisto clearly has a bone to pick with Ruby Soho. And blames Ruby for her also being, I think, blackballed from getting a job in WWE. She made a tweet 5 years ago saying that she was told that there was somebody who apparently put a bad word in with WWE and that's why she didn't get a gig there. And so clearly she harbors some feelings about Ruby Soho, who was the one that she called out, but not before she posted that initial vague tweet. And then everybody jumped on Britt Baker thinking it was her, but it really wasn't. I didn't see Lufisto coming to her defense, which was pretty shitty. So again, I have a lot of thoughts about this whole situation. Too much to unpack here. The whole thing is a mess. Are there problems with the women's division and the women's locker room? Yes. Do I believe that all these tweets and messages today say, refuting it and saying everything is fine means that everything is fine? No, I don't. But do I think Lufisto has an axe to grind as well? Is that part of what's going on here? Yeah, I do. I do. I think she has her own issues that she's, dealing with, and that, her own feelings on certain people. And like I said, I'll get into the whole thing on Sunday, but it has not been a good look, I think, for any of the people involved to be involved in this pissing contest here. But Naughty Delicious chimes in and says, after reading and listening to Lufisto's interview on Fightful, this chicken right here says that, thank you, Lufisto, for telling the truth. So that is from Naughty Delicious Chicken with Flavor. Base Beerus, God of Seduction, GWO, tore up Union Square today. I saw you there, Solo. I heard about something that went down in Union Square, but I've been out of the loop all day. I've been just immersed in trying to prepare for the podcast on Sunday, and I have no idea exactly what happened in Union Square other than something happened. Some kind of social media contest, and people descended on it, and it was mayhem, and I don't know what happened. I can tell you, though, I wasn't there. Maybe Orange Cassidy was there and you thought it was me. Naughty Delicious says, I feel like Lufisto's comments towards AEW and their women's division is spot on. In my opinion, it's our fault. This here chicken wrestling fans, Tony Khan, AEW, the wrestlers, and the people on top. I'll end my take on her comments. If the women in AEW agrees with the poor booking decisions out of fear, the Stockholm Syndrome has to end now. Oh, some dude faked a giveaway and started a riot. Twitch streamer caused a riot in Union Square. Okay. He tweeted that he was going to give away a PS5. Well, there you go. He's going to give away a PS5. I mean, that stuff is like gold. Not the brightest bulb in the box. What is this guy? Kai Cena? Or CNAT? What's his name? I don't know who this person is. Brian H. the Green Boy with a $10 super chat. I'm going to SummerSlam tomorrow and I'm very excited. This will be my first time being at Ford Field since WrestleMania 23 because I am not a huge football fan. Hope you enjoy the show tomorrow. So thank you very much, Brian. I will be right here and of course I'll be talking about it as soon as the show is over. We got Rob G. Did Rock keep his promise of never going away in 2011? Did he keep his promise of never going away? I don't know what you mean. Oh, I mean, did he make that comment? Was it in 2011? He made some kind of comment about never going away? Well, obviously no, he broke his promise. So what should the punishment be? How should we punish him? He can pretty much say whatever he wants. It doesn't matter. LaShawn says, need you to pull out your Russo on Sunday for Dark Side of the Ring. Oh boy. Don't get me started on Russo. I am so ready to just be done with this whole Bash at the Beach bullshit. Oh my god. Watching the people, some of the talking heads they had on that episode, I wanted to take a shower when I was done. Boots. What if before All In, AEW comes back from commercial break to find Roderick Strong at the bottom of a staircase with MJF's scarf in his hand? I mean, if it was a swerve, if you wanted to make you think that MJF attacked him and then they pulled some kind of a swerve. I mean, look, I think there's a distinct possibility that at the end of all this, you know, Cole and Roddy are together. You know, Roddy is milking the whole neck brace thing, but, you know, it turns out that they never had any intention of really befriending MJF, and they turn on him with a big swerve. And the obvious thing to do would be at the end of all this, MJF proves that he is a scumbag, and he really was just stringing everybody along. But at this point, I feel like that would just be, it would be too predictable. Rodimus Prime, one prediction for me is Io Sky cashing in to become the new women's champion. That being said, what is your excitement level for tomorrow's show? Not as excited as I have been for some of the other big shows this year. I'm looking forward to the show. I don't know that I'm really excited, though. My excitement level is not as high as it should be for SummerSlam, but I am looking forward to it. Their track record for their pay-per-views this year has been perfect. They're batting 1,000. Quality of their pay-per-views this year has been tremendous, so I expect that to continue tomorrow night. Ennis with the $9.99. I gotta say, I was seeing double when I saw Miz and Waller on the screen. These two could have a special chemistry, a feud maybe. What are your thoughts? See, I would keep them apart. Just because I think they are very much alike. I think you have one show with the Miz, the other show with Waller. You keep them apart. I don't know that you need them together. You know, I think Grayson Waller is better than just being stuck in a tag team with the Miz. And again, they're very similar. They both have their own talk show. I don't think they need to be on the same show. I would keep them apart. Zachariah Sitchin with the 1999 says, Damage Control is all elite. With these PR Unity tweets, where was this for Thunder Rosa? First Swole, then Brawl Out. It's easy to blame the talent. The one to blame is Tony Khan, which sucks because I like AEW. Tony Khan needs to grow some balls. Winters Paul, what is your opinion of the AEW women's drama? Just talked about that. So we already covered that, and I will talk more about that on Sunday. Groovy Goose, my Money in the Bank predict. Money in the Bank? Oh, okay. Money in the... I thought you were talking about the show. My Money in the Bank prediction. I think they keep both Money in the Banks on both holders. Maybe Io and or Damian attempt cash-ins at SummerSlam, but their plans get foiled. I think at least one of them's cashing in. I think at least one of them cashes in. Titus with the 1999 Solo. I watch your videos and podcasts often. Keep up the great work. Also, I have a question. Do you see Jimmy turning on Jey at SummerSlam? I really hope not. I really hope not. But do I see it happening? I don't. Zachariah Sitchin. We should have seen this coming from Triple H. Look how he booked NXT. 4 to 5 matches, quality over quantity, should make us tune into Raw and SmackDown. Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that for the past few months. If you just look at his history, it wasn't 4 or 5, it was 5 or 6. Used to be 5 matches per takeover. Sometimes it would be 6, and he really didn't go beyond that. So it's not surprising that he would want to keep these shows a little bit tighter, and I'm in favor of that. I agree with you. Less is more. Winter's Paw with the $20. Personally speaking, this is exactly why women don't come forward with their stories of abuse, as they always get called liars, even though in this case, Rosa said herself that she contemplated suicide because of Britt's comments. Well, let me correct that. And if I'm wrong, then send me the exact quote. But I don't believe that she ever said Britt Baker's comments caused her to contemplate suicide. I believe when Rosa mentioned that she had thought about taking her life, she was going through some things in her life. And she didn't specify. As I recall, she mentioned that there were personal things going on in her life. And again, the drama of everything may have weighed on her, but I don't believe she ever came out and blamed Britt Baker for that. So I want to be very clear in that. But yeah, there were a lot of people making comments about Thunder Rosa at the time, and I didn't see too many people coming to her defense. There was a meeting many months ago, though, that Rosa herself called behind the scenes, which again is something LuFisto kind of references in her comments or her rant. And that's not what it was. What it was Thunder Rosa called a meeting herself because there was a lot of drama. There were things being said. There were things going on. She wanted to clear the air. She herself called a meeting backstage with the entire women's locker room. Everybody had a chance to speak. Everybody had a chance to air out their differences and express their concerns. Apparently it went well. And at the end of that meeting, they decided that they were going to put it behind them and move forward. Sounds perfectly rational to me. Those sound like adults. That sounds like what a group of adults would do. And the comments LuFisto made, she made comments about how people went, there was some kind of meeting and Tony Khan was there and they were bashing her, and that's not what happened. Winter's Paw says, on a more positive note, glad to see Shotzi back. She looks great. And so do you. Sorry about your Mets. Well, I feel like people have been saying that to me now for years. Oh, you mean about the Mets? Well, yeah, that too. Hey, Winter's Paw, thank you. Eric, you're right. It's the AEW airing of grievances. See, I like to think that there was a poll in the room when this was happening. A little Festivus poll. Chris Miner, rewatch SummerSlam 2013, and it is very underrated. I don't think it's underrated at all. I think it's a pretty highly rated show for those two main events. Those are two of the best matches in SummerSlam history on that show. John Cena and Daniel Bryan, CM Punk and Brock Lesnar. I don't think it's underrated at all. Devin, what's going on, Devin? Did you get my email at all? I did. I forwarded it to the appropriate person. I have no idea. I forwarded it to the person who would know, so it's in their hands. Naughty Delicious Chicken with Flavor tonight on Rampage. The BCC just committed murder. That's right. There's a parking lot brawl. I gotta check that out. I have no idea when I'm gonna watch Collision, by the way. There's just so much going on this weekend. I have no idea. Slim Yoshi, Cody pinned Solo heading into WrestleMania and lost. Now Jey has pinned Solo heading into SummerSlam. Things are not going to end well for him tomorrow. No, they are not. Uffman Entertainment. They will have 50,000 in the building, but WWE will announce 75,000 because WWE will WWE. They really only do that for WrestleMania. They're not going to announce 75,000. I do think they will announce, man, if I had to take a guess, what attendance they're going to announce tomorrow, I'm going to guess that they announce 53,000. Somewhere in that, you know, and change. In that 53,000 range would be my guess. The real CSO2 saw the news on Vince McMahon again. The old geezer needs to go permanently, but that's not going to happen until he is gone. Wapatapa, what's so swack about SummerSlam? What's swack about SummerSlam? I don't know. I would tell you if I knew what that meant. Thank you, Wapatapa. Daniel Malcolm, thank you for the $4.99. Uffman says, your Dark Side of the Ring review on Sunday needs to be done in at least 50% Russo voice. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. I think I would drive half the audience away by doing that. I could barely stand listening to him myself. Think I'm going to do 50% of the review in the Russo voice? Base Beer is Brock against Cody in a bull rope match. Book it. Nah, it's too late for that. Wapatapa, do you think Lufisto is into Lufisting? I don't know, you gotta ask her. Naughty Delicious says, rest in peace, Mark Margolis. LaShawn with the $4.99. In more positive news, I recently turned 17. I am now one step closer to being old enough to train at a nearby wrestling school. Wish me luck. Well, I wish you the best of luck. You're like Dylan. Dylan usually chimes in on these streams and gives us updates on his wrestling training. There's going to be a whole generation of wrestlers coming up in the next 5 to 10 to 15 years that grew up on this show, on this channel, on these podcasts and other podcasts. We're taking over, man. We're taking over. I'm going to be getting the drama and the scoops before the Meltzers and the Kellers and the Sean Ross Sapps are going to be coming to people like me to air their grievances. Lady Fire Panda says, how about them Astros? Still banging on that garbage can, right? And Dr. Scorpio, do they air Collision in the US? Just asking. Yes, they do. Actually, Collision did surprisingly well. Maybe it shouldn't have been a surprise because they had that big tag team title match, but held up surprisingly well last Saturday. You know, for them, they did a pretty big number. It was like 740,000, I think, was the number for Collision last week. Base Beerus, God of Seduction. Waller effect reminded me of Cabana with those trees. It does look a little bit like Carlito's Cabana. Which reminds me, I haven't heard anything. I really haven't heard anything new on Carlito. I thought Carlito was signed, sealed, and delivered, and was going to debut at Madison Square Garden on July 7th, but got bumped because there was a lot going. They had that long Bloodline segment on that show. And here we are a month later and still no Carlito, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Naughty Delicious with the $5 super chat. I know Shotzi shaved her head to support her sister, but actually I like the look. It does give me Charlize Theron Mad Max vibe and Stranger Things vibe. I was going to say 11 from Stranger Things. It does remind me of that. Now look, I mean, it's good to change your look up every now and then. She had, obviously, personal reasons for doing so, and I think that was the most important thing to her, more so than trying to change up her wrestling character. But it's, never a bad thing to change things up a little bit, change your look up a little bit. Not me, though. Me with a mohawk, for example, I just don't think that would be a good look. With like a racing stripe down the top of my head. Wouldn't work. Wouldn't be a good look. By the way, if anybody did watch the parking lot brawl on Rampage, just let me know what you thought of it. I was actually looking forward to it because the parking lot brawl with Santana and Ortiz against Best Friends 3 years ago was very good. Chris Perry, thank you for the 5. Worst storyline, Katie Vick or Tavish against Goldberg? Clearly Tavish. For those of you who watch the 2K23 videos, if you know, you know. Oh God, don't remind me of I had the fro. I had the fro during the during the Thunderdome era. That was like early in the pandemic though. When I couldn't go to my barber. I went 16 weeks without a haircut, and I never want to do that again. I never want to do that. I looked just ridiculous. You go back and watch. I looked ridiculous. I've never had that much hair on my head in my life. Base Beerus, maybe you can rock the Brock ponytail / man bun. I don't think I could pull it off the way he does. He looks like a Viking. It wouldn't work for me. I don't know. I just feel like it works for him, but he's also got the beard and everything. It just wouldn't work for me. The parking lot brawl was unsurprisingly bloody. Well, I mean, Moxley was in it, right? So I kind of figured it would be. It looked like I had a blonde sheep on my head. It felt like it too. God. I'm going to look back on that era like a few more years from now. Let some more time pass. I'm going to go back and watch some of those old streams, and it's going to be hilarious, I think, to look back on some of those. All right, let's be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
This is our final Be the Booker before SummerSlam. So let's see if we can book a better card than SummerSlam. That's the goal for tonight. It'd be kind of funny if we ended up booking one of the matches from SummerSlam. That would be something. So much for that. Hey, look, it's our old pal, Bully the Clown. We haven't seen Bully in a while. Good to see Bully. Look at Bully. Look how happy he is. Bully the Clown. and Penta. Yes, we get to see Penta break Bully's arm. Penta and Bully the Clown. I think he'll kill the clown. I'd have that as a mid-card attraction on my show. Over on the women's side, all the controversy with the women this week. This should be good. I don't have Lufisto in here. I should have put Lufisto and be the booker. Well, we begin with Sky Blue, who took a stray bullet from Lufisto in her long rant with Fightful. Poor Sky Blue didn't do anything wrong. Sky Blue was still new at the time. She was 21 years old. Lufisto said, I don't know if she's just... What was the word that she used? If she's just a boring person or something? Poor Sky Blue. She's brand new to this. Pretty much brand new. Just trying to mind her own business, not get heat, not rock the boat. And she gets shit on for no reason. Taking strays she didn't deserve. Sky Blue one-on-one with Maria Kanellis. What are we thinking about this? I'm on the fence. Buzzer or bell? Sky Blue and Maria Kanellis. I'll give it the bell. I was kind of on the fence there, leaning up, kind of in a generous mood, so there you go. I know why you guys would like that match. I don't know why I'm asking you. Oh, she said, that's right. She said she was bland. She said, I don't know what was Sky Blue's problem. I thought maybe she was just a bland person because she was not speaking up when they were planning their big trios match for Dark Elevation that night. Sky Blue was like a rookie at the time. She doesn't speak up. She's called bland. If she does speak up, hey, rookie, what are you speaking up for? Who do you think you are? You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. All right, tag team time. Oh, look at this. Deuce and Domino. I always thought those belts were pretty good. I always liked that tag team title belt design. The SmackDown tag belts more so than the Raw ones from that era. Deuce and Domino and Cherry. Going to be taking on the American Males. Marcus Alexander Bagwell and Scotty Riggs. American Males. American Males. One of the best theme songs of all. Do you want an underrated theme song? There you go. American Males. American Males. I almost forgot the lyrics. Well, even though I gave the bell to the first two, that's a pretty shitty card, I'm not going to lie. Penta and Bully the Clown, Sky Blue and Maria, the American Males and Deuce and Domino. That's it. That's an indie show at best. And that's probably an insult to indie shows, because there are some damn good indie shows out there. American Males. All right. So SummerSlam is tomorrow night. I'm going to be live with you right back here on the channel as soon as SummerSlam goes off the air. I hope you will join me then. You'll notice one of the pieces of news today, and I have it on the scroll on the bottom. Big E is in Detroit, and he's been doing some media. And Big E and I believe it was Nick Hausman maybe who he spoke to. But Big E has been asked a lot about what his in-ring status is at the present time and what his in-ring status is going to be going forward. The plan originally was to wait a year from the broken neck and then have his scans done and see if the bone was ossifying, which I guess it wasn't for a while. Anyway, we're now, it's almost a year and a half later, and apparently he's had some spinal specialists suggest to him that he should never wrestle again. Now, he has not made his final decision. It may not even be his decision to make, because if he has doctors recommending he never wrestle again, it's possible WWE wouldn't allow him to wrestle. Right? We saw how strict they were when it came to Edge and Daniel Bryan and their neck injuries. So it's not looking too good. He hasn't made his final decision about what he wants to do. He could always get a second and third opinion. But I thought that was kind of interesting, because that was the first time that we have heard any kind of update on whether or not he may or may not be able to get back in the ring. Interestingly, there was also the mention that he and WWE have had discussions about him possibly becoming a color commentator. So they are at least having discussions about what other things he could do for them, if not get back in the ring. But nothing final has been decided yet. The most important thing, honestly, I mean, look, it would be a shame if he can never wrestle again. I'm sure he would love to get back in the ring. But if he never wrestles again, the only thing that matters, the most important thing, because he suffered a devastating injury. He was very fortunate it wasn't worse. Very lucky he could walk around now, live a normal life, be pain-free. He has said that he has no nerve pain. All right, those are all great, positive signs. That is the most important thing, that he stay healthy. He doesn't do anything to jeopardize his health, to make it worse, have a setback of any kind. That's way more important than him getting back in the ring again. And if he can never get back in the ring again, you know what? If you look at his body of work and what he was able to accomplish as part of the New Day, as long as those guys have been together for it, and all the titles they won together, and him winning Money in the Bank, and him winning the WWE Championship, not everybody can say that they did that. It might not have been the most ideal circumstance when he won the championship, but he nonetheless can say that he was WWE champion. So if this really is the end for him, and we don't know yet, he's already built up a Hall of Fame resume for himself. But anyway, that was the update today on the status of Big E. I mean, you look at him, boy, there's a fucking fly that's been flying around this room. I thought I had him before. And there he is again. Thought I swatted him. And he's making a cameo appearance here on the stream. He wants to say hello to everybody. Almost had him. Anyway, SummerSlam tomorrow night. Again, bring it right back here. We'll cover the entire event from beginning to end, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. This podcast on Sunday, by the way, episode 820, is shaping up to be a ridiculously stacked episode for all the reasons that you would imagine. We got a lot to cover on the show. But anyway, I'm going to get out of here and try to swat this thing to death. So be well, stay safe, and I will see you back here in less than 24 hours, or maybe 23 hours. And we will talk SummerSlam 2023. That's tomorrow night. Until then, have a good night. Take care, guys.